Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another segment on Relax Radio. This is The Buzz. I am your host, DJ Kings, and here with me today is me, Kings, and Tim. We will be
That's
talking
right.
everything business, everything finance, everything to teach you about entrepreneurship, anything just to keep your pockets healthy. And you can tune in on on Instagram, on Facebook. We are streaming there on YouTube. Make sure to put some comments down below. Make sure to tell us what it is that you'd like us to hear, what it is that you'd like us to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Buzz. Down below is the number 07852473473. Feel free to contact us and let us know what you want to hear from us.
That's
Today,
right.
in fact, Tim, today what will we be speaking about today?
We've got quite a few. I mean, we can maybe start off with a bit of F1. The weekend's been real amazing. Good weekend for Red Bull. Good weekend for Max. Guy's killing it on. He's on a roll actually. Red Bull is
Yeah.
actually on top of the charts this time. I can't wait to watch the behind the scenes with the teams on Drive to Survive.
Mm.
Are you a fan of Drive to Survive? Have you watched it by any chance?
I've never watched Drive to Survive actually.
Man.
Tell me what it's about.
Okay, so honestly, I think I was as interested in F1 as you are. And this Drive to Survive thing, it's how okay, so you know how this sport is considered the most expensive sport, F1.
Indeed,
And
yes.
when we talk about sponsors, the mechanics, there's on average 1,000 odd people per team, although you mainly see the driver.
Mm.
So the team was the sport was actually running out of demand and then out of attention rather. And
Mm.
whoever sponsors these Rolex or Kingfisher, you've seen these brands, you've seen Red Bull and all of them as well. You've seen Tissot, you've seen these guys basically sponsoring these F1 teams, but
Yeah.
there is still a big amount of cost that is going on. So yeah, we can get right into it as well. I'll talk about that as well. But then we've
Indeed.
actually got some conversation on women in business.
Yes, we do
Um,
indeed. We
yeah,
do
but I think
indeed.
we've got the top 10 eminent women in business. And when
Hmm.
it comes to UK tech, talking about, how it'll inspire them, how it'll inspire young female entrepreneurs, coming into business, coming into tech.
Mm.
It's not, I would say it's not just a man's world after all. And yeah, I mean, I personally, with my experience, I've seen quite a decent amount of attention or results in investing in women when it comes to work, when it comes to, regardless of, putting them on the CEO pedestal or, things like that. I mean, you get results out of them because, initially can you imagine people were at a time where women were not allowed to, drive. It looked
Yeah.
down upon. I mean, people looked down upon women so much that, they were not allowed to read books or do math. I mean, they were called wizards or witches if they could actually come to that point. I mean, I'm talking like way
Yeah.
back, but then we
Many years ago. Many years
yeah.
ago. Mm.
But we've made some progress now, and then I'm just thinking, going forward, the world is just growing. We're learning that the women are actually an addition or resource. I mean, I don't see where and why people should look at it in the lines of competition with them, because it's just a
Mm.
gender difference. And I don't think your potential should be based on something on what's in your pants basically. And
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah. So looking at all the topics, the one that's leading so far is the what's it, 10 eminent black women in UK tech, and that's inspiring others to make waves in 2021. So with women, speaking on women and how they're able to how they've integrated so much in today's society. Looking back in the day, as you said, they were always bound to just staying in the household, taking care of chores. The man is the one that goes out to provide, and the woman will stay at home and do what they need to do at home. Now we are seeing more women do so much more things that men are capable of doing, and we know that they are an addition to what a man can provide. Men can provide this, and so can a woman. A woman is able to take a managerial spot. A woman is able to take a head spot in a huge company. We've seen that women are able to take a strong foot forward in every single aspect there is to life that has been able to offer us. So more importantly, with black women, as it is, black women are more at a disadvantage in society, for starters, because of their gender and also because of their race. So, with the 10 eminent black women in UK tech, we have looked back in recent time how there has been trouble with the black community with the passing of George Floyd, RIP, and
Yeah.
how Black Lives Matter movement has really pushed forward constantly since the murder of Trayvon Martin about back in 2012, and so much
Yeah.
has progressed ever since.
To just add to what you were saying, I think to add to
Mm,
what to basically continue what you were saying with regards to it's not just about what's in your pants, the color of your skin as well, that it really doesn't
indeed.
matter, man. Like, you there are people, it's just that the system has basically, I'd say, we obviously everyone looks at the states initially when you look at
Mm,
statistics on a global scale, but
mm,
we are now seeing, when it comes to sportsmen, we are talking, Floyd Mayweather, we're talking about
mm.
people like Mike Tyson, Michael Jordan. These are all billionaires as well.
Yep.
And if it comes to business, you have a significant amount of people that are coming up in the business. And just like, to talk about Floyd Mayweather, to talk about this guy that passed away,
George Floyd. George
George
Floyd.
Floyd. George, I'm getting the
Mm,
names mixed up because of the Floyd part. But
mm,
yeah, R.I.P.
mm,
But a part of that conversation, a part of black men in business, a part that actually
mm.
came up was where there was a similar Wall Street that was built to support by black men, right?
Indeed,
And
indeed. The Black Wall
yeah,
Street.
and
Yeah, that's what it was called.
exactly, and it was doing so well. The white, and race was basically, they started feeling intimidated by it, and then they burned it all down. That,
Yep.
I mean, it does take ages for systems to mature, but it does take a sense of, I'd say, open mindedness, and a
Mm.
sense of understanding, or maturity for that
Yeah.
matter, right?
Indeed. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm super happy about how people had retaliated, and every time, regardless of which country we saw, if it was France, if it was New Zealand, if it was
Mm.
Australia, you know, all over George Floyd. And talking about this, I think the fact that it became a global concern, it
Yeah.
was really good. And and I'm seeing long term improvement, or open mindedness, or education rather. That is what I
Mm.
think matters at the end of the day, and
Mm.
results in business, right? And results in seeing positive results in systems, in ROI for investing in people. Now you look at
Yeah.
Apple, right? One thing that Apple does is they have a program that actually invests in black men or women and
Mm.
educates them on tech. And this way, it has something to do with incentives. So that way that they can actually, I mean, we can actually Google it up and check on what these guys are doing. But
Yeah.
you know so they're actually educating these people to on tech. And it's called basically, so at least in one of their keynote speeches, what they did was they said that Apple launches a major new
Mm.
racial equality and justice initiative projects to
Yeah.
challenge systematic racism, advance
Yeah.
racial equity nationwide. Now, these commitments have invested $100 million pledge, and include
Mm.
a first of its kind HBCU as a hub in Detroit. Now this is a developer academy, and what they do is they basically talk about major projects. And investing in education, investing in systems, make a ton of a difference. Now you look at people like,
Mm.
we talk about LeBron James. I
Yeah.
mean, when you look at the scale of how much he's developing the community. He's not,
Mm.
he we know he keeps talking about Akron and from where he's from.
Mm.
He is very loud on racial equality or justice.
Mm.
He invests in his school, the I Promise school. And
Yeah.
then when you talk about Uninterrupted, that again is one of his channels. So
Mm.
because you only realize how much media can influence a community, or a whole nation when it comes to what they say, because people at the end of the day are going to follow the more negative conversation, the more scary conversation, because that is what actually gets them, you know, that's what actually gets their attention. And I'd say, okay, if I say something in the lines of, okay, there's going to be, according to, by calculating all the positive, I'd say, results, or the reaction to of investing in electronic or electric transportation, the Earth has added 5 years to the critical age. That's 2050.
Yeah.
And it says that, okay, fine, we are going to have, the deciding the critical point for Earth's future, which is 2050 currently. Let's say hypothetically, if that story extended by 5 years because of as a result of our investments in electric technology now, if an article came out like that versus an article that says, okay, there's a new ice cap that has melted somewhere in Antarctica, so we have actually less than 5 years to for the Earth's critical, life point, that the latter would actually get more attention, because people are more leveraged or manipulated by negative content. So these are reasons why people like LeBron James, he's thinking of changing a community, not just a couple of people, not just
Yeah.
giving scholarships to a couple of people. He's looking at educating a whole generation.
Yeah.
And regardless of race, regardless of gender, this is what's important. This is what actually gets people to grow. And I think we should be just grateful for the fact that people are this woke, for the fact that we're encouraging people, not just people, women, and also people of all races, especially
Yeah.
black skins, because you need that attention, you need that recognition or appreciation to show that how much of people are actually getting motivated from this. It can be their daughters, it can be their neighbors, it can be little schools or people that feel like that have been taught by the system that they are not motivated. It's just a matter of telling them or teaching them their potential, that motivates them, and then it builds another generation on momentum, right?
Yeah, indeed. We're talking about black people within the community, and even in particular black women, as we are on the topic of black women. With black people in the community, we black people, for let's talk LeBron example, for example. Here's I Promise School. That's to bring disadvantaged kids, to give them an opportunity to be able to receive an education that they wouldn't have been able to have received had it just been them on their own. So that gives them disadvantaged kids the opportunity to be able to achieve what they want to achieve. That I Promise Schools, the I Promise to Work Hard, things like that. It's there to be able to motivate kids, to push kids towards achieving a better life, or a better giving them the opportunity, giving them that chance that they were never given before, making it easier for them to be able to achieve what they want.
Yeah.
So with LeBron's story, looking back on LeBron's story, it was just him and his mom. He he stayed between his mom and his
Coach, right?
auntie's place, I believe. Oh, it
Right,
was his
right.
coach. I think he stayed at his coach's place. He was staying in between houses.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes like he moved from one place to another. Things weren't very easy for him.
This
Basketball
guy
is what
had
they
all
was
the
in.
reason to just stay at home and
Yeah,
do whatever he wanted to. But
yeah,
he was a contender. He believed in himself. He
yeah,
had the right guidance, and he put himself around the correct people to start off with.
yeah, exactly.
And look at where he is. He's changing people's lives now.
Yeah, literally. So from young, literally basketball is what saved his life. And because of basketball, what basketball was able to give him, because of how much he put into basketball, basketball gave him everything back. And with what he gave back, he took all of his rewards, he took everything he achieved from basketball and decided to go and try to change a whole nation. Hence the I Promise School, hence Uninterrupted, showing more opportunities to other people. His manager or his agent, sorry, not his manager,
His
his
agent, yeah.
agent, he's given his agent even more opportunities, because LeBron is just an amazing athlete. But not only that, but he's also become more of an activist, speaking on so many more social issues with black people within the community, all of the injustices going on in the community, all of everything that's happened in recent time, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, all of the murders that have happened in Ahmaud Arbery, all of the things that have happened in past time. He's taken that time to be able to speak up on all of these issues. And in turn, he's been given opportunities to everybody that he has grown with and he's going to continue to grow with. You understand?
Absolutely.
So with that being said, speaking on the with that being said, seeing as black people are disadvantaged in society, there are white people are more, they have more of an opportunity in society than black people do because it's
I mean,
like
the
they
system is
already,
built in such a way, man. I
yeah,
mean, you're
yeah,
talking about bank loans, you're talking
yeah,
about education, you're talking about exposure to different areas in cities. I mean,
indeed, yeah,
if you are if you as a child grew up, somewhere around, I don't mean to disrespect, but if you grew up in an area where people were more focused on, sending their kids to class, or I'd say,
mm,
tuition, or if it is
mm,
sports, or
mm,
some type of skill set improving region, versus an
yeah,
area that is all around fights, or just hanging around, doing drugs kind of thing. you know
mm,
you are basically influenced by all that. That is your second circle. Like, you don't
yeah,
know anything apart from that. That is all you know. And
indeed,
when the system is designed to limit people to these sections just based on their skin color, it's definitely going to have a long term effect, where when they grow up, when they do the best at what they do, it tarnishes the whole, the system. It tarnishes the whole, I'd say, race, for that matter, because people are,
mm,
first of all, not educated on all these things. And
mm,
when you see people doing really well, it's different. So,
mm,
I mean, that's one of the reasons. I mean, I like this movie Startup, the Startup.
mm,
You see a lot of this as well. I mean, I try to keep myself educated on all these as well.
mm.
So, like you said, it comes to all little things, how bank loans, or getting a house, for that matter.
Yeah, like things like
it's
that, literally things like race is what pretty much it has an effect on people being able to do things like that because it's like they look at you and think, how can you afford this? You can't be able to afford this, you know? Like,
Yeah.
and this isn't just to look onto just like black people. We know that black people are disadvantaged already as it is. And then there's also other people of color who are also disadvantaged and they get looked at, left also the same way. In this conversation, obviously, with black people, it is it's just being able to see how much they're able to achieve even though they have so many disadvantaged placed on them. And another thing I also wanted to touch on is the fact that you said people aren't educated. There are people that are uneducated, but then there are also people that know what's going on but choose to ignore it. Do you understand what I mean? So there's ignorance, and then there's just literally taking the option to just completely ignore the fact that you have this privilege, you have a pedestal way above others,
mm.
and yet you still complain that we are working hard to get to the same point as you. Meanwhile, you've got all the tools and the skill set to be able to move even further. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah,
So
definitely. I think
yes,
being aware of the whole situation alone should be your advantage, and just
mm,
shoot, man. Like,
mm,
it's only going to be a story at the end of the day. If you there's no loss in shooting for what you want to be, or
no
who you
loss.
want to be. I mean, look at these women that we're going to talk about. They're basically,
Indeed.
founders. They're inspiring people. I'm sure that even when it comes to, one thing, an inspirational entrepreneur, guy's name is Grant
Mm,
Cardone. He talks
mm,
about how, if you are not pushing yourself, you're being not just lazy, but you're being selfish, because if you are
mm,
limiting your possibilities. Now, you look at these women here now, say,
mm.
Fong Yang. Now, she's basically the founder of Three Color Rule and
Yeah.
DLA Black Women in Tech, right? Now,
Mm,
she basically runs multiple agencies. They've been awarded the She Mercedes Businesswoman Award,
mm,
that's by Mercedes. Flavilla is one of her respected brands, and then she's also a neuroscience expert. She's also the creator of Go Beyond Marketing Strategy. Look at the
mm,
things she does. Now, you can obviously see that she's at a point where she has at least 50 people working under her.
mm.
Now, imagine being at a point where your hard work flows down onto, giving
Hmm.
careers to 50 other people. That alone is inspirational, right? And
Yeah,
when
very
she
inspirational.
Exactly. And when she comes to a point where she hires young black women, it's just a domino effect from there, where you're just inspiring generations, the whole gender, or even the race for that matter, in on a long term basis. And this is just going
Indeed.
to start seeing a ton of exposure, a ton of perseverance, or I'd say unapologetic success from black women as
Of
well. I
course,
mean,
of course.
yeah.
Another one of these women I'd actually wanted to touch on was Adana Igbokwe, and she is a solutions engineer at Zoom Video Communications. Now, you
Right.
see, Zoom was literally being used a lot in the past year. Given the pandemic,
Absolutely.
we like social distance, we can't really come in contact with other people because the
Absolutely.
whole craze over coronavirus. Zoom was doing an incredible. If you were to take a look at the stock markets, if you were to take a look at the markets, you can see Zoom was doing a huge amount of numbers. It really it really boosted up on the charts. Adana is an experienced IT professional, and she specializes in providing solutions in video conferencing and telepresence. She also has experience working as a technical consultant for Dell and a consulting systems engineer for Cisco, where she addressed customer issues and provided technical expertise, helping partners to evaluate opportunities. And now
Right.
look at her now, she's working at Zoom. So if you quickly just take a look at her experience list, like you take a look at everything that she has already achieved. This is like, if we look at this right now, this is the definition of black excellence. This to me is the definition of black excellence. We've already spoken about how, as black people, we are disadvantaged in society as it is, and we have to pretty much fight our way just to be able to get to the start line. So
Yeah.
like, think of 100 meters. Everybody starts at the same line. As black people, some of us don't even get to the race. We have fought to be able to get to that start line, and we still got to fight over so many different obstacles just in life. And as a black woman, she has to fight through even more, because it's
Mm.
like there's already a patriarchy that's built upon for men, like men being able to get everything, like they achieve everything, pushing for this in comparison to women. So for her to be able to achieve all of this, it's an incredible feat. You understand? So this is the definition for me of black excellence. She has achieved so much, and she's still going. As you can
Yeah.
see, she's young, and she's still got so much left in her to be able to achieve so much more. Another
Absolutely.
person, Penny Ezeche, she is a product owner at Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank, I'm not too sure if you know, but I think Deutsche Bank is a pretty big bank, specifically in Germany, of course. And
Yeah. Yeah. That Deutsche Bank is everywhere, man. They're
yeah,
massive.
yeah, like, if like looking at her article, like looking at a bit of her profile here, she has over 20 years experience in technology, in banking and finance. That is a huge amount of experience.
And
So
for
she
her to come
has,
to a point where she's, in the IT and management side, she's
yeah,
also committed to, creating work environments that, feel like where people want to be. This is one of the advantages that I was also reading about, women in
mm,
business. See, when you're talking about advantages of them, you're talking about, first of all, for the whole community, when someone walks into your office, you want to give them that, that impression of a current feeling, of a very informative or involved feeling, where it's
mm,
not just only guys, or it's not just only white people working in
mm,
an office. That
mm,
that by itself, when you come into it, if you are a client, or if you are going to be a new recruitee, you're,
mm.
you're you're going to understand, you're going to absorb so much from that without them saying anything at all, even, right? And
Of course, yeah.
because the diverse workforce, hands down, is a more innovative workforce, because there you
Mm,
understand that if a problem comes up, you're you're getting opinions of tackling that problem from so many other directions,
mm.
right?
Indeed, yeah.
And yeah, and when you're talking about things like soft skills, these are, I'd say, I wouldn't say only women, honestly, but then I have,
Mm,
with my personal experience, I've seen a stronger point with women, when it
mm,
comes to soft skills, when it comes to, things like, informing people what's going on, being effective with communication, empathy, self-awareness, measuring
mm,
success, these kind of things are, more involved in women, and it's more kind of, I'd say, engraved in them. Whereas,
mm,
men might not be the most emotional. They will be, more, I'd say, at least I'm just comparing to obviously niches, but it comes to
Mm.
that at the end of the day as well, because you're
Yeah.
talking, talking about, again, women in business. I think, like you said, that race conversation, the conversation
Mm.
of race. I have a cool story about Kanye West alone,
Mm.
and I think we'll get into it after a quick break. But yeah, there's quite a bit that we can actually talk about. So when you're talking about economic power, and then offering important consumer power when it comes to products, or interacting with customers for that matter, it's not just it's not just IQ. You also need EQ. IQ is something you're born with, right? But EQ is
Mm.
emotional intelligence. Now this
Mm.
is something that women seem to have better than men at in most times, because they are on a scale of where they can um you know communicate better at times. Now I
Mm.
mean, it obviously the situation varies, but you need to understand that there are, I'd say, disadvantages as well, but you need to stay with an open mind. Now we are looking at so many female entrepreneurs becoming billionaires. If you look at Bumble,
Mm.
if you've heard of Canva, these are these are designed or started by females, and these companies are now public. They're over billions in net worth. These
Mm.
stories alone are so inspiration, I'd say, even for women. I mean, again, tech, right? You're talking about growth, you're talking about performance. If people just thought that Tinder was the only thing to go for, and if no one ever dared to compete with Tinder, we wouldn't have a Bumble. And Bumble basically is designed by the opposite sex, and
Mm-hmm.
that product is basically, it gets a different market going, and also
Mm.
it's usable for both genders, right?
Mm.
So we're having conversation around everything, I'd say. Just like as usual on the buzz, we talk about everything: business, tech,
Mm.
entrepreneurship. If you want to be a part of the conversation, just make sure you call us up. Our number is right down below. You can call us on
Down below.
07852
Mm.
473 473. Make sure you call us. You can WhatsApp us as well. Comment on the video right down here, or you have options to share it with your friends. You can share it with people that are, that you think you can motivate when it comes to busy people. If it comes to women, if it comes to people that need motivation at their office, or need inspiration to maybe even start
Mm.
working.
Because it's a
We're
beautiful
talking
thing
about,
when all of you are able to work together. It's a beautiful thing
absolutely.
when everyone's able to
We're
work
talking
together.
about
Like
black
it
women
makes
in
it really better.
business. Exactly. We're talking about black women in business, and it's multiple markets, it's multiple conversations that need to be exposed. So stay tuned with us. We're going to run through a couple of videos on who we are at Relax Radio. Stay tuned right here. You're tuned in with Tim and Kings on the Buzz. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? But when you are basically going out and during a day, you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that the rich pay less taxes, or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true that the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods, they're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends, and so forth, and then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK. We've seen it, right? If an owner of a large public traded company does something wrong, irrelevant of what that company does or how valuable that company is, the stock generally falls into a pool of nothing, right? Because in a public company where the stock is traded openly on the stock exchange, the value of that stock is driven by supply and demand, it's driven by emotion, it's driven by news, it's driven by, quite a lot of variables over and above the actual accounting or total net worth of that company. I mean, we've seen it, right? If an owner of a large public traded company does something wrong, irrelevant of what that company does or how valuable that company is, the stock generally falls into a pool of nothing, right? And the company may still have value, it may still be doing quite a good thing. One of the easiest ways to increase your net worth is to ensure that you have higher cash flows. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to not buy things on hire purchase, not buy things over months and months because you can't afford them now, but you want it. It's kind of that delayed gratification. Rather than buy that couch, that car, that stereo, that computer, whatever item, and pay it off over 12, 24, 36 months at an interest rate, rather invest that money, make do with what you've got, and then after 12, 24, 36 months, take the money that you've now invested and buy that good. An asset could be anything that appreciates or reduces a tax bill. So it could still be a liability, but it reduces their tax bill. And I'm not going to go into the technicalities because that's out of our remit here. However, for our use or our purpose, what we are talking for the listeners here is I would put this definition of an asset forward. An asset is anything that increases your income. Anything.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? When you are basically going out and during a day, if you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that, the rich pay less taxes or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true, the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods. They're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends and so forth, and then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if that, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh, so that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies will ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, got me thinking. You want to stand out. Why do you want to stand out though so much, especially with these kind of shirts when you're riding? There must be a purpose behind it, right?
Well, when you say purpose, Nick, what I do, I wear the shirts, mainly one because they're nice and bright, so they make me visible, especially if I'm riding on the road.
Okay. That's very important, right? Because you want cars,
very important. And also, like, people see me in like calves, and perhaps I shouldn't be saying this on here, I suppose, but in the bar afterwards.
All right.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh, so that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, you look like a guy who would do.
You know me too well. You know me too well, Nick.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back from the break. I hope you enjoyed the videos showing who we are, the buzz, and what we do, what we speak about. Right now, you are tuned in to Relax Radio. This is the buzz where we talk everything entrepreneurship, everything finance, everything just to be able to keep some extra money inside of your pockets, and everything business. You are tuned in with Kings and Tim. We are here talking more on the same topics of eminent black women within technology, leading tech companies with remote hiring in London, and just everything technology, just something for you to keep tuned in for this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, the number down below is 07852 473 Feel free to call, text, to WhatsApp, let us know what it is that you'd like to know. Feel free to let us know in the comments what it is that you'd like for us to speak about. We are live streaming on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Once again, this is The Buzz, and you are tuned in with DJ Kings and Tim.
That's right. That's right. So now we're coming back into, we left you off with talking about how someone like King, I'd say, Kanye West. Now, Kanye West, for one, we know he was, announced as one of the billionaires as well. He entered the billionaire gang, and just like that, we had, if I'm not mistaken, you had quite a few. I think Forbes, for one, had said that he was actually not a billionaire, and they had actually made an article about the fact that he was more in debt than his assets, giving him that net worth, trying to take him off the list. But then again, there were other articles that actually had retaliated for him. This guy I really love. The guy's name is John Henry Styles. He's a young entrepreneur. I'd say somewhere around 35. He's also started with just being a doorman, and he's really strong in social media. I think I'll actually send his stuff to you. I watch his stuff like a prayer. I try, if it is advice, I try to get it in terms of where he is and what he's doing. He talks a lot in terms of inspiration, in terms of marketing, in terms of he's a real estate dude. He's also in media. He lives in Brooklyn, but killer guy, super humble. I mean, he's at around I don't know less than 1 million followers or so, but I've sent him messages. The guy actually goes to the extent of replying on Instagram. Super humble dude. I love the guy. So anyways, coming to that, he was one of the people that actually retaliated as well. And, they actually, spoke about how, it's not fair for, you get one black guy on the billionaire list and, you get so many articles about, him being, so many articles about him not being on it right after. I mean, just this is the same conversation you spoke about when it came to him, black people, getting into any competition in the first place, whereas, everyone else, they might, either get in with their hard-earned, their sweaty equity or, whichever method. But, people that actually put in the work just might miss out on such a simple opportunity because of their skin color. And I think this article or, these women that we're talking about today, are important for people to know about them, and we are hoping to share inspiration from this conversation, and also motivation. So I mean, if you have any young women in your family, any young girls in your family, you can tell them this story. And if, regardless if you are if you have young guys as well, if you have young boys, regardless, color, just know that your limit is not what you think it is. You don't really have a limit. Your limits are only what you make them, regardless of who tells you what.
Indeed.
So coming back to the conversation now, like Kings will basically, going into the next lady or the woman in business when it comes to this.
Yes.
Who do we have next?
So the person I was speaking about next would have been Nina Induayo, and she is a senior data analyst at Station 10. So looking at her profile, she was responsible for overseeing project delivery at Station 10, which ranges from data engineering, statistical analysis, application of machine learning solutions, visualization, and delivering training. She engages with clients throughout the project lifecycle, working together to ensure that they get the most out of their data. As you can see, that takes up a lot of responsibility, specifically as for someone of all of these type of all of these categories that have been listed within her profile.
You know what? Machine learning is actually AI, right?
Machine learning is AI.
Yeah, I actually follow this other lady on TikTok.
Ah.
She basically broke it down in the lines of how machine learning is actually AI. It's just how you basically start feeding a machine, or you start feeding an algorithm that maybe you start showing a ton of pictures if of maybe grassy fields, and
Yeah.
you start recognizing these as sheep if there are sheep in the picture, and the machine eventually starts to learn that it's actually a sheep by recognizing sheep in a picture.
Oh, see, I just see that you learn something new every day, don't you? See,
And it's crazy.
that is insane. That is very insane. So, well, as you can see, this is the type of a job. This is something that has so much responsibility behind it. And as you can see, she's really killing it right now. She's taking it upon herself to really show that she is doing what she needs to do. This is the definition of excellence, as I've been speaking about before the break. The next lady that we're going to speak on is Mary Jane Bertrand, and she's a director of operations at Uptitech. And she's a co-founder. In fact, she's a co-founder of the company themselves, and they are an indigenous software development company.
Yeah.
She joined them as a pioneer executive director of the company, overseeing the development and provision of ERP, which is Enterprise Resource Planning. These
So
systems,
ERPs are basically, if to break down what ERPs are, in the past, let's say Amazon, for instance, right? Most mature companies today use ERP systems because it's basically like a database. If you don't know what an ERP system is, an ERP system is basically where you log in everything with regards to what section you are, which department you are. Let's say, for example, you and I are basically managing 100 shipments, 100 containers in a dockyard, right?
yeah,
And we want to maintain a common log. Now, obviously, you can make a file for every container, every company that basically trades within the compound. But how much of space would you need? How much of time would you need to go back into these folders, or these warehouses, looking for the files and then getting each out of per company, right?
yeah,
An ERP system, what an ERP system does is basically they let you make a file or a profile for each company, and anytime you have a shipment coming in, you don't have to really go search for that. You basically have everything logged in. If you want to go into the history, you can go into the history. If you want to check
yeah,
on their payments, you can check on their payments, what status it is in, how
yeah,
many containers there are currently in, how many containers have gone out before, how many containers are due. These are what ERP systems are. So that is just logistic, right, in a particular company. So you have this for sales, you have this for HR, you have this for so many different processes in businesses. These are what ERP systems are. And
yeah,
regardless of which country you're in, I've seen so many confident, successful women actually making an impact, making a positive impact in their businesses when it comes to ERP systems or anything. So yeah, to go into what Nina is doing, she's doing quite a bit. Lots of respect to what her work is, and even Mary Jane,
yeah.
like I said.
Yeah, literally. So as you can see, it's there's a lot going on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know. So majority of us, to us, that just looks like a name, but it's taken so much for them to be able to get to that point. So these different organizations there in the UK and America, and she's currently a visiting lecturer at the University of Hertfordshire in the UK, where she teaches postgraduate students software engineering practice and experience. So imagine that she's achieved so much for herself in terms of being a co-founder of UptiTech Limited. She joined that particular company as a pioneer executive director of the company, and
Right.
like now she's now a lecturer teaching postgrad students software engineering practice and how to be able to have that experience.
That's true.
This,
That's true.
yeah, see, for
We're
me this is very
talking.
influential.
Yeah, I mean, come to a point where you get that experience and then you come start teaching people. You're
Yeah,
not just teaching
yeah.
them. If you've done it before, if you see someone that has done it,
Mm.
that alone is going to motivate you so much. I mean, these are pretty inspirational ladies that we're talking about here.
Very, very inspirational ladies. Like this seeing all of these black women, and I know I haven't gone through every single name here, but seeing all of these black women, everything that they have achieved from Fongang all the way down to Bertrand, Joseph, and Chelsea Mafia, every single one of them, they are paving the way for other younger black women to be able to step forward and come forward and be able to push through and step into their own greatness, because obviously, as I've already mentioned before, we don't have that advantage, that we don't have that privilege like white people do, that they are so much further ahead than us. They've got everything ready for them, and all they need to do really is just put in just a bit of the work. If anything, half. They only need to put in about 50% of the work to be able to get 100% of the benefits, you know? Meanwhile, for us, we need to put in 100% of the work just to be able to get at least 10%. So they have
That's
paved
so
the
true.
way, yeah, and they have paved the way to be able to show that they've paved the way for the younger generation to be able to grow and take over and then do so much more for the next generation of kids and then the next generation of kids, trying to make sure that we are able to, display our greatness because we can do the same jobs that everyone else is capable of doing, specifically for them being black women, they are proving even more that they are capable of doing so much more that men are capable of doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm honestly seeing super progress, super potential for growth, because when you're
Mm,
talking about improvement, when you're talking about progress, you need to
mm,
consider things like you need to consider, like we just spoke about in the first I'd say 20 minutes of the show. We did speak about how women need not just women, I'd say, having someone that has already done it. Let's say, for example,
yeah.
you look at the Williams sisters, how we see them as a brand, right? We see them as a
Mm,
brand in sports, but you know do you really know how many black women that they're, or black young girls that they're actually inspiring or motivating to get out of their couch at home or get out of their house and go
mm,
practice, go actually put their work into whichever sport that they're doing. um, you
indeed.
know we are only seeing the beginning of women in sports. Now we know, there's this whole conversation about equal pay when it comes to sports. uh, I honestly don't see the point in investing equal pay so far, because
Mm,
um, you know you need to see how the return is, or the attention is. But there
mm,
is attention being created even onto little platforms like,
mm.
not little, but then when you're talking about platforms like the NBA.
Yeah,
The NBA is actually, you see on their Instagram, on their Facebook, they actually share videos around the people that, the WNBA as well.
yeah,
And
yeah,
they're actually pushing for quite a bit of women in sports going on.
yeah. On the talk about equal pay, like let's put the NBA for example, because we did just speak about it. Um, that has been something that has been a topic for conversation for quite some time. One thing that is the main focus of it is the fact that the NBA is a business first and foremost before a sport league. And they look at how they're able to make dividends, how they're able to constantly be making money to make sure that they can pay these athletes, and what is able to draw attention from the outside world. And NBA athletes within the NBA have been showing their increased support for the WNBA, and the fact that these athletes, the women athletes, are here putting in the shift, playing basketball just as much. one thing that has been noticed with this NBA being a business is that they know that the NBA is what will grab attention, because everybody wants to see high flying dunks, everybody wants to see people going crazy, everyone wants to see high intensity. Now, when it comes down to high intensity, I'm not saying that the WNBA isn't intense, because at the end of the day, they are moving as intense as they can move, so it is intense. Intensity is measured on two different levels. So for us, I enjoy watching the NBA. I don't watch a lot of WNBA games, but whenever I do sit down and I do find entertainment, because me as a whole, I enjoy basketball. Now, looking at the equal rates of pay, it wouldn't be able to work because of the fact that the WNBA does not draw enough attention the way the NBA does. They don't have a big enough fan base. In recent time, they have been gaining more sponsorships and more attention. They've been gaining more revenue.
Exposure.
Like, yes, that's it. Exposure. That's the word. Thank you, Tim. They've been gaining more exposure, and now it's been starting to bring in a lot more attention. So now, with that being said, I think their pay has started to increase a bit more. They've been managing to gain a lot more out of being able to play in the WNBA, just as literally not just as a female athlete, but being able to understand that just as a woman in general, that they are able to achieve so much more within this league. They are not as big as the NBA, no, but they are able to achieve so much more given the fact that they've been given so many more opportunities. And I feel that it takes people at the higher up to be able to say, do you know what? I want to invest in the WNBA. I want the WNBA to get more. I want the WNBA to be on more TV screens, because let's be honest, basketball does not have a gender. Basketball is not going to be tied down to men. It isn't tied down to men, because there are women that play the sport just as much. There will be young little girls out there.
Personally, I've seen some amazing highlights as well in the WNBA. I've seen some, they have some height and some skill as well. I mean, talking about sports as well. These guys are basically, if you look at the Venus, if you look at the Williams sisters, for example, you're talking about them investing. They have there are some clothing lines. They also have clothing lines in the sense they have activewear clothing lines, right? And these are niches that they are popular around. They are obviously leveraging off their brand names here, and making the best of it. I'd say to also add to that, they also know what an athlete needs and how to sell it to the athlete, since they already have that trust built. It's just a matter of communicating and then selling their product. But apart from that, you're talking about not just clothing wear, but also architecture and interior design. So these guys are in these industries as well. So you're looking at not just a single, we see them as that brand image, with that brand image as leading sportsmen in sportsmen in the tennis conversation. But then how sure are you of if that's the only operation that they're doing, or they are running to other successful operations, and it's primarily women, I'd say, employed in there. And it's lovely to see how people know, and they become the people that they wanted when they were younger, as trusting young and colored people to give them chances to grow and improve. So
Indeed,
it's building communities, man. It starts with just one person.
Yeah, it literally does, and when that one person is able to make a difference, no matter how big or small, it becomes an influence. It becomes almost infectious. Like, it makes other people want to be able to do the same thing, and then that's how a whole community is able to change, because one person will have that strong enough influence. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
again, with that WNBA, just like having someone in the higher up, someone in those big companies to say, I want to invest in the WNBA. I want to take a chance with the WNBA. I want to see them with more TV screens. All it takes is one person to be able to make a whole difference for a whole community. And, just like that, that's how the WNBA will be able to gain so much more revenue and, be able to see no more TV screens. But as I said before, it is a business, and literally all it takes is just being able to have that one person within the business to be able to invest and see how much revenue they get back from it. Because in turn, it is all and great to be able to have that equal pay to constant. Like, I know it is understandable that they want that equal pay, and I understand it. I get it. I also agree with them, but
Just not yet. I mean, we're not saying no. It's just a not yet. I mean,
yeah,
it will come there because I know to lead with example. America, for one fact I know, is pretty much one of the best in terms of selling, and if it comes to
indeed,
sports, they've they basically get the audience into they grab the audience's attention
yeah,
in such an amazing way. I mean, coming into the sports conversation, we're talking about if it's the NBA, they know how to leverage LeBron's name, for one, I know. And if the guy steps out of his house, if he basically comes to a show, if he goes to one of his son's games,
yeah,
these are what they share on the platforms while the playoffs are going.
yeah,
And they're basically getting a ton of, they engage with their market by sharing stories. And when I talk about stories, if you follow the NBA enough, you're going to know from where Giannis came, from where his brothers have come, their history. Them
yeah,
alone are inspiring to I don't know what level. Just today, I read an article that said that they used to sell gold, or they used to sell things on the road just to make sure that
yeah,
they got enough of food for
yeah,
their house.
yeah.
And now look at them. Now they're at a point where they can basically start their own companies. They're just 25, 26 years old. And
Indeed, yeah.
when I say companies, I'm talking, Giannis is, about to hit about a $200 million contract, if I'm not mistaken. But
It's something insane. It's like the guys in the NBA, they make mafia money. Like, they make mafia money. That's the type of money you wouldn't see elsewhere,
I
realistically.
mean, coming from a place where they didn't have a bed, they didn't have their shoes, they had to share
Yeah,
their shoes.
yeah,
Getting a meal in, these things. Giannis, the first thing, first few years, or I'd say months at least, that he used to practice in the NBA when he got his contract, was he used to live that simple life. He used to send all his money back home.
yeah,
I get goosebumps talking about it, because I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm honestly so biased towards the Bucks winning this year, because one of his younger brothers got a ring last year with the Lakers.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I think if him and Thanasis get it this year, I'll be so happy for them, man.
Like, I feel like that would be insane. Then that would just that would literally just make that LeVar Ball, how
Yeah,
he wants his children to, he says his children will be, basically what he wants his children to be is pretty much what Giannis and his brothers already are. Do you know what I mean? So,
absolutely.
and if they were to win that ring, it's like they were three brothers that were raised from pretty much not much. They've made it to the NBA and they all play very, very well. And then if they were to all win championships as well, they are all champions. They came from a family of champions. Like, there's nothing, you can't really shake that kind of legacy, like something like that is something that cannot be made up. That is
You
something that's
can't
pretty
make
much
that up.
built in
You
stone.
can't make that up.
Exactly.
And yeah, that at this level of competition, you just can't make that up. I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy. And talking about the game, for one, close game today.
It was a very close game. Very close game.
Middleton came in clutch. He machine. I mean, started banging the threes, and then overtook the Hawks. But he alone outscored the Hawks in the fourth quarter.
Middleton, he alone
Middleton, yeah.
outscored the Hawks in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
My goodness. You
Close
see,
game. You can see that the Bucks have a bit of when it comes to home advantage, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they smashed these guys by almost 40 points last time.
Yeah, yeah.
And what got me pissed with the Hawks was this guy Trae Young.
Trae Young.
He's. I mean, okay, fine. You need to have character, but how he went. He did this at the end of the first game when they were 1-0, and now the shimmies and shit. That's all cool, man. That's all fine. But I don't know. That thing, me personally, man, I don't know. that just put me off.
You see, Gio, is I'm not the type that really I'm not a fan of like cocky behavior, specifically when it comes to the court. Like for me, the type of player I am, I just score and just keep it stepping, you know.
Yeah,
You're always gonna get players that need to say something because they're trying to prove themselves. And to be honest, I understand because there's a lot of people that have slept on them before. But you
yeah, that's
know,
true.
there's a difference between confidence and
And cockiness.
arrogance.
Yeah,
Yeah, literally. There's a difference between
100%.
confidence and arrogance. Like you can be confident on the court. There's certain things you can trash. You can talk a bit of trash. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's
But
fine.
literally there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance because you can have too much confidence and then you can become arrogant, especially on the court. So when you become an arrogant player, the one thing that you need to make sure of is that if you are going to talk, everybody will expect you to stick behind what you say, because if you do not pull through with what you say, you will get slated, specifically when it comes to sports, not even just basketball, just sports.
I
If
mean,
you
look at
talk,
McGregor, right? The minute
there
he
we go.
tapped out of Khabib's thing. I mean,
Yep.
he. I mean, okay, fine. Khabib, if not for that, that after the match, that brawl after
Yeah.
the match, if not for Khabib ruining his own reputation there,
Yeah.
McGregor's name would have just gone to the dogs, man. Like,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I mean, man used to back his talk. He used to, properly. I mean, he was a good salesman. He used to get the
Mm,
attention for the fights. He
mm.
is, I'd say, still. If he came in, he'd still be the face of the fight game.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, people are waiting to, talk trash to
Of
whoever
course.
has the limelight.
Of course. Of course. And obviously, looking at McGregor, he's even a prime example. He was very confident in. He didn't come up from quite a lot neither, and he pretty much fought to get to where he is now, or yeah, where he is now. He achieved a lot in terms of fighting in the UFC, and he had a lot of confidence about him because he said, "I'm gonna do this. This is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna make sure that happens." I understand confidence. Now, there's a fine line between. He has crossed the line of confidence and gone over to arrogance when he decided to go and speak ill of Khabib and his religion. And then from that point, that's when it went downhill for him. That arrogance, when he continued to talk with that arrogance, everybody expected him to. Well, you've said it, now you got to do it.
Yeah,
And
he
now
walked the
he didn't
talk.
do it. Exactly. If you're gonna talk the talk, you better walk the walk. And sadly, he didn't walk the walk. So now his name got thrown into the dogs. He's been burned. And then not only was it after the Khabib loss, but then he lost again to someone else. So now it's just made things so much worse. Like, he's starting to lose. He's losing the respect that he built up over the time because of his arrogance. Do you understand? So
That's so
yeah,
true.
like arrogance can really ruin an athlete, in my opinion. It really can.
Yeah. And coming back into NBA, what's your take on the Suns and Clippers?
I am
We're
so proud of
3-1
the
now.
Suns.
What's the take? Where do you think it's going to go? Is it going to go to a game 7?
The thing is, with the way it looks right now, I feel as though Kawhi isn't going to come back, and I'm
Mm,
quite sad about that. I'm very,
yeah,
very sad
man.
about that because I really, really do want
He
him to
he
like.
makes a big impact on the game, and
Yeah,
yeah, the Clippers are
yeah.
really missing him, man.
Honestly, and for someone like Kawhi, someone of his caliber, he is the only player I know who's capable of just literally coasting by the whole game. But when it comes down to the team really needing him,
Crunch time.
he will drop 20, 25 points and then sit back again and say, okay, cool, I've done what I need to do. And on top of that, the way he plays on offense, he plays just as good on defense. He doesn't let
Exactly.
anybody get through.
It's like he has suction cups on his hand, man. Just
Yeah,
can't get the ball out. You can't,
they're so huge.
you can't sleep on the guy when you're on, when he's on defense.
Of
You
course
just
not,
have
man.
to watch your passes. You have to, watch your dribble. You
Yep.
can't mess around with him.
Yep, like he's able to watch the tempo. I bet he's even counting every single bounce before he steals the ball. Like that's just how good he is on defense. So yeah,
Exactly.
for
So
me, I think the way it's looking at the Suns
yeah,
are
the
going to
way
go
it's
to the
looking same.
finals.
Do you think
Yeah,
one more game and then these guys are going to win the series, or you think they're going to win it next game?
I think I'm going to call it 4-2. I'm going to call it 4-2.
Or two? Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know PG man. He was having some mental challenges. I mean, you can't blame him, man. He's human as well. But
Of course not.
coming into you need to understand that there is. I mean, it is business at the end of the day, and you need to
Indeed, yeah.
yeah. So 4-2, and then we're seeing. I'm just honestly hoping for one with on the other side on the east.
Yeah.
Expecting a potential Bucks and Suns final.
I feel as though I want the Hawks and the Bucks to go to Game 7. That will be so
Yeah,
interesting.
man. I mean, that'll be super interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
the rivalry is super on there, and you have the support. You have the crowds are killing it. I mean, I
Yeah.
saw this highlight today where Giannis was waiting to shoot his free throw, and
Yeah.
you have the whole stadium on his side, the side he's facing,
Yeah.
counting to 10.
Yeah.
And the second he misses it, they go nuts. They just go nuts, and yeah.
This is the beauty of having fans in the arena because they actually bring such an energy that you won't be able to get with just a bunch of screens. Like,
Absolutely.
that's the beauty of it, and I love it. I've missed it. I've actually missed it.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, we are at the conference finals, and then after that, it's just finals, and then I'm definitely gonna miss the game after that. Yeah,
Uh,
those days right after the finals is like a bit of a basketball hangover that you had to go through,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
You're just like,
honestly.
okay, what should I be doing now at this time of the day?
Yeah, yeah. It's so
Yeah.
much. It's just you just don't know what to do afterwards.
Exactly.
Mm,
Yeah, so we've come to just past an hour of time today. Yeah, we were talking about women in business. Now, also to add to what we did
mm,
talk about. If you have anyone in the lines of that is looking for that you think could use a bit of inspiration on business,
mm,
if it is a woman, if it is someone of color or not, regardless of who it is, I think these stories can inspire a ton of people,
mm.
because at the end of the day, the world is only stronger with everyone together, and everyone working as one, with without petty restrictions or petty ignorance coming into play, because
Indeed,
when,
yeah.
when everyone is at their full potential, if it is a company or if it is a home, that's when you see the potential or the possible reach, or the
Mm,
what you can get the best out of a situation, or out of life, for instance, because if not, why else would you live, right? And
yeah.
I mean, there's no point if not.
Yeah, exactly. One message I'd like to give is just remember, like, black women, they are doing an absolute killing. All of you are doing an amazing job. You guys are really pushing forward and just continue to pave the way for the younger generation coming up, because you don't know what it is that you're about to do, but you're about to do something amazing. So I am
This is
just
just the
proud of.
foundation. This is just the foundation, man.
Exactly. This is literally just the start. There's so much more that we are about to achieve that no one would even be able to believe. So I'm just proud for Black excellence. I'm proud for everybody's excellence, but most importantly, Black excellence, because we've pushed so far forward and we've really achieved so much. Even just speaking on a radio show here with you today. So
Absolutely. I
indeed.
mean, I'm super. I mean, you personally, Kings. I mean, to
Mm,
see you come to this point, I'm super proud of how much you've improved from when you started. I mean, it's at the end of the day, like I say, everyone has scope to improve. Everyone has scope to grow, and
yeah.
everyone just needs a bit of a push, a bit of a confidence boost, or someone to just push them, or give them that assurance that they can improve, and there is scope. If you know what the vision is, at the end of the day, that's what's going to motivate you. If you don't have a clear vision of where you want to go, I mean, that's also fine, but you just need to know what you're working on, why you're
Mm,
working on it, and then keep reminding yourself of that. And then at the end of the day, you're going to turn up. If you concentrate and do your work genuinely, you're going to turn up to a point where you're definitely going to go. That's me. I have my goals and to be someone in 10 years time. Maybe
yep.
by then I'll have another goal, be someone else in 10 years time, and
Indeed.
it'll go on like that. But I mean, I want that for you. I want that for everyone here. And, we're just looking at, progress down the line, man.
Indeed. And the same for you, man. The same for you. And I really do appreciate the kind words. I do appreciate the kind words.
Appreciate
but
you, man.
nonetheless,
Yeah,
thank you.
but now we've got to head out of the studio. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching the whole video. If you have got to this point, remember to stay tuned on the buzz. We've got Chris coming in from 1 to 2 on weekdays. That is, on the buzz. Same that is on Relax Radio, same frequency. Same place. We are on all channels: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. If you want us on Twitch or Twitter, we are on it as well. Make sure you're tuned in. Make sure you go through our YouTube and then watch our past log, and then catch up if you have missed it. So Kings, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you as always.
Of course, and the same to you. I always love coming on. I really do.
Likewise, man. Thanks for the energy. Appreciate you.
It's
I'll
all good, man.
Catch you next week. Catch you tomorrow.
100%.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? When you are basically going out and during a day, you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that the rich pay less taxes or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true that the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods. They're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends and so forth, and then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK. We've seen it, right? If an owner of a large public traded company does something wrong, irrelevant of what that company does or how valuable that company is, the stock generally falls into a pool of nothing, right? Because in a public company where the stock is traded openly on the stock exchange, the value of that stock is driven by supply and demand, it's driven by emotion, it's driven by news, it's driven by quite a lot of variables over and above the actual accounting or total net worth of that company. I mean, we've seen it, right? If an owner of a large public traded company does something wrong, irrelevant of what that company does or how valuable that company is, the stock generally falls into a pool of nothing, right? And the company may still have value and may still be doing quite a good things. One of the easiest ways to increase your net worth is to ensure that you have higher cash flows. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to not buy things on hire purchase, not buy things over months and months because you can't afford them now, but you want it. It's kind of that delayed gratification. Rather than buy that couch, that car, that stereo, that computer, whatever item, and pay it off over 12, 24, 36 months at an interest rate, rather invest that money, make do with what you've got, and then after 12, 24, 36 months, take the money that you've now invested and buy that good. An asset could be anything that appreciates or reduces a tax bill. So it could still be a liability, but it reduces their tax bill. And I'm not going to go into the technicalities because that's out of our remit here. However, for our use or our purpose, what we are talking for the listeners here is I would put this definition of an asset forward. An asset is anything that increases your income. Anything.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? When you are basically going out and during a day, if you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that, the rich pay less taxes or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true that the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods. They're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends, and so forth, and then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK. The valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. What am I saving or investing for? Why am I doing it? When will I need the money? And how much money do I need? Yeah. So that's quite important, because when you're looking at your net worth, you got to start with saying, well, what do I want my net worth to be, so that there's a goal, and then work backwards. How do I get there? And if I can start with £50 or $50 a week, if I save that every week, and you can go online and use calculators online. I don't have to teach you the maths behind it, but you can say, okay, and if I get a 3% return and I put this away for how long will it take to reach my goal? And that's called just this basic cash flow projection calculations. And it's what we use in financial planning all the time. What we say to clients is we say, okay, what is your goal? What is your objective? Where do you want to go to? And we discuss that in a lot of detail and over most of the meeting. And then the rest of it is saying, okay, in your exact circumstances, with your risk profile, with how you feel about investments and pensions and taxes and where you are and who you work with, and your education level or your lack of education or how involved you want to be. There's a lot of variables that we take into account. And then we say, okay, here's a plan. You start like this, that's great. And then we review it all the time. And we say, okay, we need to increase it, we're on track, we're not, this is what is happening. Because remember, when you're dealing with assets, the valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday, and what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's a struggle. Yeah. So there are strategies everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million, and they're different. Right? They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country, to be fair. Different countries have different tax laws, so with different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies, and then you step up into different things.
it again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son.
I want to talk about, how the generation gap, has how much it's changed, especially when you check the youth nowadays in comparison, to people back in the day.
I'd say when I was younger, it was more disciplined. Not now.
In comparison to now.
Not at all. Not now. The way things are nowadays, the younger generation, you seem that they can't accept the word no. If that makes sense. They can't
accept rejection, essentially, is all you're trying to say.
Yeah, they can't accept the word no. So if you, how did I do? Or you didn't do very well, and they get upset, And when I was a youngster, my father used to say to me, because I used to be sport mad when I was very young. Well, I still am sport mad, but like participating in different sports. And if I had a bad game, for example, he'd say to me, you had one to forget. That's it.
Yeah, that sounds like a smart guy. I mean, yeah, that's the real fact of the matter, yeah.
He'd say to me, you had one to forget. Get over it. And that was it. So I dust myself down and do it again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son. Or daughter. I've just told them that they need to buck their ideas up.
That's the truth right there. I mean, if you think about it, if you check the generations, like right now in the US as well, I've seen a lot of these things as well. In the UK, you get medals for participation. But what's the point? What are you trying to? Yeah, what's the point? Either you win or you lose. People are so afraid to put that whole notion of losing. When it comes to right now, the generation gap is just crazy. How much a lot has changed. Social media has taken control of our lives, and we don't even realize it anymore. We're crippled because of it.
That's absolutely right, Nick. Because, as you said, nowadays it seems that you get rewarded for failure. For the life of me, Nick, I can't get my head around that. Perhaps I'm just getting old and morbid. I don't know. I just can't get my head around how you could be rewarded for failure.
One of the easiest ways to increase your net worth is to ensure that you have higher cash flows. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to not buy things on hire purchase, not buy things over months and months because you can't afford them now, but you want it. It's kind of that delayed gratification. Rather than buy that couch, that car, that stereo, that computer, whatever item, and pay it off over 12, 24, 36 months at an interest rate, rather invest that money, make do with what you've got, and then after 12, 24, 36 months, take the money that you've now invested and buy that good. An asset could be anything that appreciates or reduces a tax bill. So it could still be a liability, but it reduces their tax bill. And I'm not going to go into the technicalities because that's out of our remit here. However, for our use or our purpose, what we are talking for the listeners here is I would put this definition of an asset forward. An asset is anything that increases your income. Anything.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? When you are basically going out and during a day, if you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that, the rich pay less taxes or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true that the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods. They're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends, and so forth, and then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? When you are basically going out and during a day, if you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that, the rich pay less taxes or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true that the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods. They're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends, and so forth, and then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK. We've seen it, right? If an owner of a large public traded company does something wrong, irrelevant of what that company does or how valuable that company is, the stock generally falls into a pool of nothing, right? Because in a public company where the stock is traded openly on the stock exchange, the value of that stock is driven by supply and demand, it's driven by emotion, it's driven by news, it's driven by quite a lot of variables over and above the actual accounting or total net worth of that company. I mean, we've seen it, right? If an owner of a large public traded company does something wrong, irrelevant of what that company does or how valuable that company is, the stock generally falls into a pool of nothing, right? And the company may still have value, it may still be doing quite a good things.
Climb Mount Everest. That is one of that's in my bucket list. You're laughing, but that is the facts right there. I'd love to do that. That is something I'm looking forward to do, hopefully.
Climb Everest.
Mount Everest. I mean, okay, not the very tip of Mount Everest, maybe the base camp at least.
They're talking about mental health. Well, if you went out and got some exercise in the fresh air, that would improve your mental health. It will make you feel better.
That's true. That is true. I wholeheartedly agree. But then for some people, it's how do you find the motivation to, especially when it comes to riding a bicycle, to do it again and again and again and again? It's a cycle that you have to be used to. How do you do it? What makes you wake up in the morning and decide, hey, I'm going to pick my bike up today. I'm going to cycle. What makes you want to do that?
What makes me want to do that?
Yeah. What do you like? What could you give listeners, like people listening in right now? What kind of tip could you give them?
Well, the first tip I would give them, if you haven't tried it before, try it. It can open up new horizons. It'll make you fitter. It will definitely make you fitter. Cycling is one of the best forms of aerobic exercise you can do.
It sounds like, I mean, if you think about it, yeah, it sounds like great fun. Because what essentially you're trying to say is also at the same time, when you if you look at it from this perspective, with regards to mental health, especially when you look at it with mental health, this is another way to fight it. I feel like you go outside, you meet more people, you interact with, socially, you'll interact with more people, and you're keeping fit, you're making connections, you're breathing in the good and exhaling the bad. I feel like that's a great thing right there.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got a better way with words than I have, I'll tell you. But you're quite right. What you say there. You're quite
I
right.
mean, I've been doing this for quite some time. I mean, hey, you'll get the hang of it.
I've been doing it for about 10 minutes now, so yeah.
That I can never really understand people staying in one room the whole day when you can have the world to see. I am a traveler. I travel. I love traveling. Traveling is just one of the things I do. And yeah, on top of my bucket list was, to one time, hopefully when I get there, go to Nepal and climb Mount Everest. That is one of that's in my bucket list. You're laughing, but that is the facts right there. I'd love to do that. That is something I'm looking forward to do, hopefully.
Climb Everest.
Mount Everest. I mean, okay, not the very tip of Mount Everest, maybe the base camp at least.
Base camp, yeah.
At least.
Would you be able to cycle there?
Oh.
That's right. This is the buzz that you're listening to, and what we're talking about is everything to do with women in business. Talking about how if you can be successful regardless of what your gender is, or what color your skin is, right? Because of the fact that now we are seeing a lot of people actually make it. A lot of people actually come to successful positions, and now it's not just about them, but what's more important is that younger people, people that are taught that they can't do things, or that they are only limited to certain amount of things, that they look up to these people and learn from them. They learn that it's not true, and then that they expose their potential, they expose their limits, and they actually go get what they want. They actually create dreams. People actually have a purpose for life. That is what's more important. This is what we talk about. The buzz, we give you that midday energy, we give you that midday, that dose of positivity from Relax Radio. And when you're talking about women in business, another positive thing about when it comes to negatives, I'd say, or when it comes to positives that businesses see from women in businesses, is that women respect huge economic power and offer important consumer insight. Now, when you're talking about a $20 trillion consumer spending industry, right? Now China and India have had the biggest growth in terms of regardless of which industry it is, in the last couple of years. Now women account for 85% of consumer purchases. Now if you are I'd say a retail or FMCG company, and if you don't have a female, or a lady in your board, or in your decision making team when it comes to the products, you're doing a thing all wrong. Like, because if you don't know what at the end of the day, if you don't know what your consumer is thinking, you're not going to get your message through. So it's like trying to, I'd say, it's like trying to give a band-aid to someone that is having a headache. You're not really going to get there. You need to understand your consumer, you need to understand your market, and what product or what problem you're really solving. So these are the advantages of hiring women in business. These are the advantages companies see when they actually get people into business. And despite only 11% of creative directors in advertising are women, this is still an improvement from 2008. In 2008 there was only a 3% in advertising heads. Now the Boston Consulting Group has actually done a study on female economy, and they've actually come to the conversation, or the I'd say the conclusion, that women feel undervalued and underdeserved in the marketplace. And with the power of female consumer in mind, it's evident that women are best placed to tap into that opportunity, bring value, and consumer insight onto the table. Now, when you're tapping into both insight, you're talking about, male products or female products, and then services that can actually be marketable for, a profitable business. Now, a study from McKinsey had basically shown that a gender diverse 15% are more likely to outperform financially driven companies from the average industry. That is pretty much what we basically break down for you. Now, if you are interested in hearing everything, giving you a daily dose, an afternoon dose of business, tech, or entrepreneurship, that midday motivation that you need to get into you, to fuel you for the rest of the day. This is where you need to be. You need to be tuned in on the buzz. You need to be, you can call me up on 07852 473 473. My name is Tim. I'm with you on weekdays, 12 to 1. Make sure you are also going to be tuned in on the buzz from 12 to 1, specifically on Thursdays, because we talk with Chris Slater Jones, a financial consultant, a financial advisor. And, we're talking about everything when it comes to loans this week. So make sure you've got your dates locked, your afternoon locked, because I want to leave the rest of the day free for you, and anything to do with business should finish before your work is done. You got Real Talk coming in with Nick right after, and then you've got the Vibe coming after that. So we time things really well for you, so you make sure that you've got a lot of business conversations while you're at work, so you can talk with your colleagues, with your clients, with your peers, and then afterwards it gets on a real relaxed mode, or talking about matters that the economy or the society need to talk about. So we've got Nick coming in right after me. He'll be talking to you all the way till 6 p.m. on Real Talk. So stay tuned right here. This is Tim. I'm logging out for the day, but I hope you have a good day. Stay tuned right here because Nick is coming in. Good afternoon.